Welcome everybody to the Chronic Health Collective. This isn't just a community, it's your fresh start. We've gathered the best coaches and experts to help you reclaim your energy, heal from the inside out, and live with purpose. Whether you're longing for more energy, deeper healing in your relationships, or a life that feels more aligned and fulfilling, you're not alone anymore. Let's rise together. So again, welcome everybody. I'm Candace McKim. I'm an intuitive manifestation mentor. I'm an author, and I created a deck of oracle cards, TEDx speaker, and the founder of Manifestation Magic. And I am super excited to be interviewing the one and only Andy Nam this morning. Welcome, Andy.
It is so different being on the other side of the screen, I tell you.
I know, it's so exciting for me. All right, let me introduce Andy properly. Our guest today is Andy Nam, functional longevity expert, best-selling author, and co-founder of both Chronically Healthy Life and the Chronic Health Collective. Andy's own health journey, facing multiple chronic conditions from a teenage accident that required years of pain medication, has fueled his mission to help others reverse chronic conditions using functional nutrition, biohacking, and stem cell activating technologies. His passion is helping people boost their energy and live younger for longer by showing that true milestones aren't just the big celebrations, but the small daily choices that create lasting transformation. All right, Andy. So again, welcome. I'm super excited to dive into more about you and your journey and how you got here. So you've been through a really powerful health journey. Can we just start with you telling a little bit about your story and how you got here? Yeah,
I love to, because a lot of people don't really think about, what changes your health, what changes your vision or your goals, down the road. And it was just like a few weeks before my graduation year in high school. I was driving to my girlfriend's house and going through a traffic light. Someone ran a red light going down a hill. He was driving like one of those U-Haul 1-ton trucks and hit me on the driver's side. Right. The only thing I remember from that point is, the ambulance kept pulling me out and then just in and out at the hospital. What's going on? You're looking up, your hands are bloody. And then next thing you know, I saw Min at the hospital. She's my girlfriend during the time. And, she's like freaking out. I'm just looking at her face. I don't know why she's freaking out. I didn't know, because you can't see how bad you are, right?
Yeah.
And, that accident, like it cut off part of my ear. It fractured my back. It fractured my neck. I had a few internal injuries, dislocated my knees. That truck hit me pretty hard,
Yeah.
If you visualize your driver's seat, when I took a look at the pictures later, my car was literally a V and my driver's seat was in the passenger area. There was no passenger seat anymore.
Oh my God.
Right. So, looking back at the pictures of the car, it was really one of those God moments where someone was watching over you, because when people look at the car, there's no way anyone could have survived that, right?
Right. So you just know, okay, I'm here for a purpose. I'm given another chance.
Exactly. And it's funny you say that, because like early on as a kid, you don't think you have a purpose, right? But that was probably my first sign that I was here for a purpose. But I tell you, over the next 20 years, like, I was looking at, specialists for my back. I was looking at, chiropractors, herbalists. I was looking at everyone, so many people were treating me. And, this happened when I was 18. When I was 21, my orthopedic surgeon says, well, Andy, by the time you hit 30, you're probably going to have a body of a 70-year-old, because your body's going to degenerate from all the damage. And of course, 21, we're at the peak of our health. At that point, I was already on prescription pain medication. But I was thinking, well, this guy's on crack. How is that even possible? And, it really shortened my timeline to try to achieve what I wanted to achieve. Like most people, you think you can work 50 years and retire by time 60 and so on. But
Yeah.
when he told me I'm going to be 70 when I was 30, everything shifted. I figured in the next 9 years, I have to do what most people do in 30, 40 years. So, I started my own business and in automotive, and I was burning the candle on both ends, working literally 18, 20-hour days every day.
Yeah.
And of course, you don't know that. It just sped up the damage to my body more because I wasn't eating right. I was moving in the wrong places. I was, bending over all the time, and I was just popping like prescription Vicodin like it was candy, just to know the pain, because I thought if you don't have pain, everything's good.
Yeah.
And sure enough, by the time I was in my 30s, it was funny because like I will always have this sort of steely look. You remember Zoolander, you have the look, the steely look.
Oh,
And I
okay.
was trying to be cool, right? But what I didn't realize was I wasn't smiling because I was in so much pain, right?
Oh,
And
okay.
like, right through my 20s and 30s, even my early 40s, I have never smiled in any of my pictures. And, it wasn't until years later, when I started my journey to heal myself,
Yeah.
that I started smiling again, so
So
there
was
was.
there another big moment or another, like, did you really shift into being a longevity life coach and functional nutrition?
Yeah, it was difficult because, you know, going through school, I was a pretty smart kid. I didn't like studying,
Yeah.
but I usually got pretty good marks about studying. And,
Mhm.
I always wanted to be a doctor in the medical field helping people. So I really believe in the science. I believed in Western medication. And I really believed everything they said was going to help. You take this medication, this is going to help with this. This will help with this. You need to do this exercise and so on and so forth. But they're telling me take all these vitamins and do all this, and you need to be on your regimen.
Mhm.
And through the years, everything just kept getting worse and worse. And there was a turning point in my life because, like I said, Minna's my girlfriend during the time when I was
Yeah.
driving to her. But, when we first started going out and, our first date started as a Valentine's joke in graduation year, that's how we met.
Yeah.
But, she used to carry this magazine with a Lotus Esprit on it. And she'll joke with me, is like, I'll marry you if you get me a Lotus back in 1988, And of course, as a kid, no problem. I'll buy you a car. Right. And this is a Lotus. Right. And in
Yeah.
the back of my mind, I always try to keep that promise to Minna.
Mhm.
And in 2005, when we're 35, I actually bought her a Lotus. It wasn't the Lotus Esprit, but it was the Lotus Elise. And it was like one of those points when you feel like a milestone. Wow,
Yeah.
I succeeded in getting her something that I promised. And
Yeah.
so like that was really a symbol of her love, right? We've
Mhm.
been together for a long time during the time,
Yeah.
but I was in so much pain, I couldn't drive that car. Right. And wherever we go, when I get out of the car, because it sits really low, it's like a go-kart, it's like a little Ferrari, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be climbing out like this feeble old man, minutes just hopping out. And it was
Yeah.
just embarrassing, like really embarrassing. You're pulling up to a
Yeah.
nice place and you can't even get out of your own car, right? Like basically I'll be like grabbing to the side of the door and like
Yeah.
racing to get myself out. And, when you said when did I start looking at my health is, when I hit 43, struggling for 8 years, getting out in and out of this car. There was so little mileage on the car because we never drove it.
Right.
Um, Minno saying, let's just sell the car. We can't even enjoy it. And so it was a tough decision, but we sold the car, right? And so, I was asking all my doctors, everyone at that point, it's like, dude, like I can't foresee what my life's going to be with Minna for the next 15, 20 years. Like,
Right.
when is my health going to get better?
Yeah.
Right. And every single one says, well, Andy, you're doing pretty good. Like most people are much worse conditioned than you. And during this time, I already had like IBS. Like I couldn't sit or stand for more than 10 minutes at a time. Anywhere I go out to eat, I'll be going to the restroom in 10, 15 minutes later because my body can digest the food. And when he said, well, you're doing pretty good, I was thinking, are you freaking nuts?
Are you kidding me? This is good? Like, this is my future? Getting
Yeah,
worse?
and
Yeah.
it really scared the bejesus out of me. And when I sold the car, I sold it to a kid. I like calling him a kid. Like I call my little brother now. Like he was 28 during the time. And I was asking him, this little Vietnamese kid. I'm in, it's Bay Area. So Vietnamese kid buying your Lotus, still quite expensive even buying used. I asked him, what you do for a living? He's, oh, I'm a drug dealer, right? And I was like, drug dealer, right? And he said, no, I sell supplements. So
Oh,
that's when I got introduced to nutritional supplements that were very different from what I've been taking on my last 15, 20-year journey. And
okay.
to make a long story short, from that company of the supplements I tried, they are different, and that's where it started my journey. It's like, well, if all this was wrong for the last 20 years, what else is wrong? I
Right.
sold my automotive business and I just went like 180 degrees and says, screw it, I'm just going to figure out how to heal myself. And that's
Yeah.
really how my journey started, with just some simple vitamins, man. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Yeah. So lots of milestones in that story. Like the
Yeah.
milestone of buying the car,
Yes.
the milestone of selling the car.
Yes.
Like talk about being divinely guided, right?
Yeah.
To sell it to that person and yeah, to get that information.
Yes.
And then the milestone of selling your automotive business, right?
Yes.
Like, yeah. So can you see, did you see them at the time as like even selling the car, selling the automotive business? Did you see those as milestones worth celebrating? Or did they seem like a pivot? Like, could you see the good, like the, how it's guiding you and like, yeah, let's celebrate this.
It's funny you asked me that question because, like, you know, growing up, like I'm not a very religious person, right? And
Mm,
I was never really got introduced to personal development, intuition, and stuff like that.
yeah.
But my family was Buddhist, and I like to say I'm Christian because I changed my beliefs when I was younger in my teens, especially after the accident, knowing that I didn't die when I should have. But no, to be honest, I didn't see these as guidance of something going on, because during the time I was happy when I got the car. So it was a happy moment. It definitely felt like a milestone, something I promised for Minna.
Yeah.
But like when I sold my car, like all those nowadays, as I look back and they are milestones, but I was really sad. I was just devastated.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's sort of like I hit rock bottom. I like life seemed to end very quickly. People say about your midlife crisis, in your 30s and
Yeah.
40s. When I sold that car, it was almost a sign of defeat for me. It was like,
Yeah. I can
it's
imagine.
like things could only get worse at this point. And then when I
Yeah.
met the
'Cause
guy, I was like, wow, okay, and that's what really started my journey.
Yeah, and I think most people only celebrate the big milestones that are we
Yeah,
think of as positive, right? Like
yeah,
anniversaries or promotions or a big birthday.
hmm,
We're celebrating my mom's 90th in October, and we've already
exactly.
got the reservation made, and and so how has your experience really shifted your perspective on what a milestone really is?
It's funny nowadays, because like especially what I've been doing for the last 12 years, learning about everything about functional nutrition, biohacking, everything, and learning that your body does have the ability to repair itself. Um, I like selling, mini wins as milestones now, right? Because so many of us look for the big milestone, like you said, the
Mhm.
anniversaries, the birthdays, and stuff like that 10-year celebrations. But
Yeah,
now it's sort of like, if you just look for a big milestone and not have celebrating the little mini wins, you never get there, right? Like
yeah,
from where I was 12 years ago, starting taking supplements to now, I would never imagine I would be off all medication. I'm healthier now, celebrating our 55th birthday. Like we're seniors. Like on paper, we're seniors, and every metric from blood work, from health, from even doing burpees and push-ups, I'm doing more than I was able to do in my 20s and 30s,
yeah,
right? It's not
yeah,
something that I can imagine I can do. So, but if you told me 12 years ago this is the health I'm going to get starting with vitamins,
yeah,
no. So everything that for me, it was like the milestones is like I got out of bed without pain, and then I got out of bed without taking my medication. Like these were all small wins. And looking back, those were all milestones that I didn't even realize that I achieved during the time.
Yeah, yeah. And so how do you help your clients celebrate the small milestones along their wellness journey? Like,
You
because
know,
I know this feeling myself. Like, you
yes,
start to, I can run farther than I used to, or hike more,
yes,
or go up the hills, and I'm not as out of breath. And I got the watch that tells me my heart rate, and I'm like, okay,
exactly.
I'm doing like because I did a lot of conditioning this last year, and it's really
Mhm.
showing this summer.
Oh yeah.
And like so I feel that, but it's like, how do you help your clients celebrate those small milestones?
It's funny you ask that because most of my clients are always asking for the big wins, right? Because they're
Mhm.
so used to Western medicine, where if you're in pain, you take your Tylenol and the pain's gone, and you think that the problem is fixed, right? But meanwhile, they can't sleep, they have problems with bowel movements, or they're angry all the time. And for me, sometimes it's just sort of reminding them. So how was your sleep? I slept, 1 extra hour. Well, that's a win, right?
Mhm.
Like they don't look at the small things, or when they say, well, I wasn't able to walk before for more than 5 minutes. Now I can walk a mile comfortably, right? That's a
Mm.
big win. That's a milestone that we should be celebrating. And like I said, a lot of people don't think about those things. And I think that is very important to celebrate the mini wins.
Yeah, I think they feel like they should already be there. They should have
Yes.
already been able to do it. So they're beating themselves up because they weren't there before, because they're shitting on themselves. Well, I should have already been there. And so then I can
Mhm.
move forward from there. So when I get to where I should have been, then I'm going to celebrate the next wins. But they're not celebrating that, well, they weren't there and now they are. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, like you said, I think it's just sometimes the little reminders for the things they're not noticing, right? And it's, oh my God, you're
Mhm.
right. I did sleep better last night. Or, oh my God, I was able to walk up the stairs without losing my breath. Like it's the little things. And these are all milestones people don't realize.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, it's time for our first break of the show. And I am talking with Andy Nam, and we've been talking about celebrating the milestones along the way. But when we come back, we're going to be marrying together, bridging together manifestation with milestones. We'll be right back.
Imagine a life where every day is fueled by energy, vitality, and purpose. Where age is just a number and your best years are always ahead. Hi, I'm Andy Nam, certified functional nutrition longevity coach, best-selling author, and international speaker. After reversing my own chronic health struggles, I'm now on a mission to help you live longer, stronger, and of course to look younger. I combine biohacking, cutting-edge nutrition, and stem cell technology to unlock your body's full potential. So no matter where your starting point is, I'm going to guide you toward a chronically healthy life. Ready to reverse aging and take control of your future? Connect with me today. Your journey to longevity starts here.
A life empowered is closer than you think. We're all looking for a better way. Reimagine what's next with a new sense of exuberance. Why not power on like you mean it? Or power off blissfully? A better sleep is a better awake. You've never moved like this before. With the energy nature intended. Imagine reprogramming the way you look at the speed of science. At longevity. At exhilaration. It's next level rejuvenation. Take control of your well-being from the inside out and outside in. The light within is ready to ignite. Be the light. LifeWave.
Welcome back, everybody. To the Chronic Health Collective. I am Candace McKim, Intuitive Manifestation Magic Mentor, and I am interviewing Andy Nam, who is a functional longevity expert and the co-founder of the Chronic Health Collective. So it's such an honor to be interviewing you today, Andy. So before we went to break, we heard a little bit more of Andy's story and what led him to become the longevity expert. And as well as we were talking about celebrating some of the small milestone wins and the big ones along the way. But now we want to kind of dive in a little bit more. As an intuitive manifestation coach myself, I talk a lot about aligning with the energy of the life that you want and drawing it in and bringing it to us. So, Andy, how do you see the connection between manifestation and these small health milestones in your journey, in your own journey?
Like I said in the first episode, I was never a really woo-woo person. And, I tell you, in these last 12 years, 15 years, with so many things happening, looking back, like you said, you were asking, were these milestones, were these things that you saw was meant to be? Now, as I get older, it's like, oh my God, like there were a lot of signs that were leading me the way to make a decision, right? I believe, when you're talking about manifestation and intuition, right? We always have choices, right? When it comes down to it, and those choices will determine where you go, right? So when a lot of people says, well, if I believed my orthopedic surgeon when I was 21 that I am forever going to be a 70-year-old from 30 on, which came true because I believed him, right? Like I basically caused everything to speed up the decline of my health by working harder, eating crappier, right? Taking all the pain medication. And it was a self-fulfilling prophecy to prove them right, right? Now, being a little smarter, seeing that, oh, well, there are different ways. The body does have a way of healing. Sometimes it's about trying to figure out, where to get that help from, listening for someone else, different opinions. Yeah. But, when it comes to manifestation, one of the things that I learned, and this really drove into me, when I started studying under Jack Canfield, and, one of the things he says was like, act as if, act as if, how would you be feeling if you're healthier? What would you be doing down the road if you were able to do this? And it was interesting because, like I said, from the first time I was taking my medication, and like it was like 2-3 weeks into it, not medication, my supplements. It was just vitamins, right? Yeah. 2 or 3 weeks, I roll out of bed one day and I said, "Baby, something's wrong." And she says, "Well, hold on, let's go to our ambulance," because the last time I said that, I had a kidney stone, right? And it said, "No, look, check this out." I swung my leg over the bed and I stood up. I wasn't able to do that for probably 20 years, right? So that was more like the first sign of, wow, something's changing here. And you get excited, right? But at that point, it's like, if I can swing my legs off the floor now, what else is possible down the road, right? So it was like, suddenly bringing that little win. And it was like, dude, I hit another milestone. I don't feel like a 70-year-old. Maybe I feel like a 55-year-old now, right? Wherever it was, right? But I was excited at that point,
Yeah. And I like, I'm just looking back on my own journey, and right, like when we believe it, then it's truth. It's our truth, right? And exactly. So it's taking all of those limiting beliefs or preconceived ideas or things that we've been told right from childhood, right? And taking a look at them, and are they really my truth with a capital T? And it's like, yeah, I do believe this, or no, I don't believe this. This isn't my truth. And I'll still sit around with my family, and things like little things will come out as truth. And I'm like, yeah, no, I don't believe that anymore. And it's for like manifesting money. It's about, wealth and relationships, but it is health as well. Like my background is, I had a degree in social work, then I became a yoga therapist, and I really spent decades marrying together talk therapy with body, mind, spirit. And so our body is giving us messages all the time, like giving us guidance and leading us and saying, okay, this is good for you, this isn't. And, like when I had a yoga studio for 17 years, And there's just certain foods I couldn't eat before I taught 12 classes a week. So there was like,
Right.
there's food I couldn't eat before teaching a class because it would, not feel good. And yeah, so how do you help your clients really tap into that part of them?
Yeah, it's funny because you mentioned that the body's intuitive in giving you signs, right?
Yeah.
And I tell people, and over those 20 years in my journey of that pain and suffering, all the medication was dulling those signs, right? Because like I thought that when you have no pain, that's a sign of you getting better,
Right.
right? But all the medication is dulling all the pain. So if you don't feel pain, you don't know what's wrong, right? If you're not, you got a headache, you take a Advil and the headache's gone. Well,
Yeah.
but what caused the headache, right? Like your body
Right.
was actually giving you a headache, telling you something's wrong. Or for me, it's like when everything I ate, I was going back to a restroom right away. And it's like, why is that, right? It's sort of like he's talking about the food sensitivities. I didn't even know I had food sensitivities, And
Right.
years later on my journey, I found out that all the medication has wiped out my biome, like all the good bacteria in my gut. And
Right.
that's why I was having all this gut dysfunction, right?
Yeah.
So, I always, sort of like remind my clients is always listen to your body, right? If for instance, if you got a headache, sit back and think about what was causing a headache. Like, are you having a stressful day? Maybe you're not drinking enough water. Maybe it's something triggered by something, like for me, it's like I have this specific ringtone for my mom, like for my mom, okay? And when it rings, oh my God, people can see the change in my face. I get into this anxiety mode. Don't get me wrong, I love my mom to death, but whenever she calls, it's always emergency in her head. Right. And it just puts me in that flight and fight mode. Right. So, once again, you have to listen to your body. What's causing that? And now, it used to be like this. The song was used to be Off With Your Head, right? From Glee. Right.
Yeah.
But now it's I think it's Journey or something. Like it's something very calm and relaxing. So I was like, okay, it's gonna be okay, whatever it is. Right. Yeah. So it just really depends, like you said, on your mindset, how you spin it during that situation.
Yeah.
Right. But always listen to your body for the signs. That's very important.
Yeah. 100%. And so what daily practices or rituals do you recommend to create the momentum towards long-term milestones?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. I think it is something that I'm learning more from all you coaches. Like, of course, as coaches, we a lot of times we tell people to do things because it's stuff that we know will work, right? And that were taught to us, right? And I think it all starts with gratitude. It's like the gratitude every morning of something that you just take for granted, right? Because now it's like when I get up in the morning, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful I can just get out of bed and do what I want. Back in the day, it was like getting out of bed was difficult. And I didn't know what I was going to do next because like, well, how difficult is it going to be just to get out of bed, take my shower to wake up the body before I can look forward to the day. Now I literally jump out of bed and say, oh my gosh, there's exciting things happening. Right. So I think really just having that gratitude and looking forward for change every morning. It's exciting, because I think most people get up in the morning and, if you don't like your job, I'm going to have to tread to work and you're looking at traffic. But, look, there are so many good things that's happening around you. And it's like you said, I think concentrating more on the positives. Like, of course, there's negatives. There's always negatives, right? But now it's sort of like I look at more on the positive side because there's a reason for everything. Like, everything's changed for me now, in that aspect.
Yeah, gratitude too is a huge part of my manifestation process. I like to do 8 every single morning. And I always start off with, I am so happy and grateful for, and then I just start writing them down and then just start writing them down. And I always, like, what I do is put in there what I want to happen, not always what I'm grateful for, but what I want to happen so I can manifest it. So I can see this even with, with people's health is like, I'm so happy and grateful that I move so freely, or I'm so flexible, or my balance is amazing, or whatever it is. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So like a lot of people say, well, you know, I was diagnosed with diabetes, or I'm worried I can't do this anymore, right? And like you said, if you just start having the gratitude for that, for being happy and grateful for the small little changes that you're able to do now that
Mhm.
you weren't able to do before, it makes a big change on how you look at life, right? Because
Yeah.
you don't want that doom and gloom, because what you believe you're going to achieve. Like,
Exactly.
unfortunately, it goes both ways, for good and bad, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things I recommend to my clients to do as well, and I do this, but not as much as the gratitude. But if I want to manifest and make things and change things in my life quickly, I do 6 impossible things before breakfast. And so I write down things that I think are impossible. So
Mhm.
like, I am so happy and grateful I am pain free, like for when you were in
Mhm.
all that pain. And like,
Yeah.
so the things that you think are impossible to achieve or possible to actually happen in your life, I get my clients to do that, and that shifts the energy really quickly. Like I have seen so many like amazing results with my clients when they
That is
do that.
amazing. I,
Hmm.
I think I'm gonna steal that off your book, because I have to
Yeah,
start doing that myself, because
yeah,
there's so many limiting beliefs, and like I said, unfortunately, I was drilled into them from all these people, and even now, growing the business, or even for my own health moving forward, it's always like, I'm happy this happened, but you still sometimes have those things holding you back. So I think I'm going to start doing that myself, and start recommending that for my clients, for the impossible things that you'd be happy and grateful for.
well,
Because
and
that's
what
not
it does is it really expands your mind. Like we think small, like we think too small, right? So
yes.
it's playful, it's fun, and it really gets you to think a lot bigger
Mhm.
than most of us give ourselves permission for. We don't really think, okay, I can really dream big, and
Yes,
we dream too small is what we're doing.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
And so what other things do you suggest when people have setbacks? Because we know setbacks happen, right? Like and I sometimes think of it as resistance even. Like I
Mhm.
know for my sister, whenever she starts to work out, something happens. She twists her ankle and those are legitimate things that
Oh
happen,
yeah.
right? Like different injuries and different things like that always seem to have happened like over a span of her lifetime, right? Whenever she starts, okay, I'm going to get in shape, I'm going to work out,
Mhm.
and then something happens. I think of it almost as resistance. Like there's some part of our subconscious that doesn't want to do it. So we create
Right.
a problem. How do you
I
overcome
love
that?
that. That is so true, right? Because we're
Yeah,
always looking for excuses not to do something.
yeah,
And sometimes that twisted ankle may not necessarily be, you know, you causing it, but subliminally maybe you caused
exactly.
it,
That's what I
right?
mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's where you talked about the impossible thoughts, like these,
Mhm.
I like to call them BHAGs, right? Like me and Minna, we always set BHAGs every year, like big, hairy, audacious goals. We got that from Darren Hardy. And
Yeah,
these are not, these are almost like dreams, like crazy, crazy stuff that, like you said, that seem to be impossible to achieve,
yeah.
right? And I think if you start setting those goals, right, you would start having less resistance, because then you would start figuring, okay, just like, for instance, we're gonna have a master class, right? I thought about that a whole year ago, that we're gonna do this, and I didn't know how it was gonna happen. And now
Yeah.
it's coming to fruition. I'm very excited with all you guys being part of it. But it takes time to build out to that large goal, right? So if there's a setback, it's okay. The way I talk about it is like, just say you twisted your ankle. There's a learning moment. I tell people there's a learning moment for everything,
Yeah.
right? Like, why did you twist your ankle? Oh, maybe the exercise was too hard. Well, that may be true, but maybe it's because you didn't sleep well, right? Or maybe
Mhm.
you were just being you just weren't were not being there, right? A lot of people, they're doing something, but they're not present. Like, they're not actually there, right?
Right.
And that's dangerous if you're driving, but we do it all the time, right? Like, we multitask all the
Mhm.
time, and I tell people, it's like, if you're doing something, put all your effort into doing that, and try to phase everything else out. because otherwise, you got all these other things going on. You got these negative thoughts. Is this exercise really working? Is this diet really working? Well, let's give it a chance, right? If you're already telling yourself it's not going to work, guess what? It's not going to work. You're going to find resistance and a reason why the exercise, the detox, or whatever, or even like I tell a lot of people, like for our stem cell activating patches, they said, well, that's woo woo. I was like, well, you don't know until you try it, right?
Yeah.
Like why are you putting all this negativity saying it's not going to work, right? So just having an open mind and always be learning. I think that's so important.
Yeah. So Andy, you've talked several times about sleep. So
Yes.
that's one of my biggest challenges, I think. Like I like to stay up late and I like to get up early. And if I have a sleepless night, I don't have a problem. Like I'm totally cool with it. I get a lot of work done. Like some of my best ideas have manifested during the night, right? Where I get my computer and I just get these downloads and stuff. But I do know sleep is like really, really important for overall health and well-being. So how do you recommend, or tell me a little bit more about sleep?
It's funny, I'll keep it short because a lot of people think that sleep is only the amount of hours that you sleep, right? And that's not necessarily true. You can sleep 8 hours or 10 hours and not be rested, right? Because a lot of times you be tossing and turning. I tell, when people tell me I don't dream, I would say you never got restful sleep, because your only dream is when you get into deep sleep. So if you don't dream, that means I don't care how many hours you're sleeping, you're not getting restful sleep, right? And there are just so many tips out there. You can Google how to get better sleep, but I think the biggest one for all of us is getting off our devices 2 hours before going to bed, right? And sometimes that's hard because me and Minna, we read our books through our iPads because it's so much easier. Right. But all that blue light, it disrupts your flow, right? And it keeps your mind awake, and then it gets hard to sleep. But, one of the main things I like to tell people is, like, before going to bed, if you're going to watch something light, something funny. Don't watch horror movies, because that's what you're going to be, thinking about when you go to sleep, right? Me and Minna, in the last, before we fall asleep, I always put we use Calm, so it'll be like a manifesting app. And then you fall asleep listening to that, and then your subconscious is just going to be dreaming of that when you go to sleep. So, I tell people that is a great way to fall asleep. And of course, it's sort of like mono a little bit, and you just fall asleep, right? Like that's the best way to fall asleep, I think, because then it puts your mind into the right mode when you're sleeping, right?
And then I also feel like if people haven't got the right amount of sleep, then meditation is a great substitute.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Right. All right, let's talk about this more when we come back. So it's time for our next show. And so I am talking with Andy Nam, and we will be right back to talk a little bit more about sleep and our milestones that we're achieving. We'll be right back. Are you ready to finally unlock your biggest dreams and live the life you've always wanted? I'm Candace McKim, and I invite you to join me in the manifestation magic process. Whether you're dreaming of that perfect business, financial freedom, or more joy in your life, it's all possible. With manifestation magic, you'll shatter common misconceptions that keep holding you back, learn the secrets of attracting your deepest desires, and activate the magic of sacred synchronicity. Head to CandaceMcKim.com and start creating the life of your dreams today.
Why do 98% of beauty enthusiasts rave about coolness? It's all in the blend of ancient wisdom and modern science. Introducing Coolness, Pearlescent Face and Eye Serum Cream. This powerhouse combines the antioxidative power of schisandra berries, the glow of pearl powder, and the hydrating wonders of dragon's blood extract. It's like a time machine for your skin, making it radiant, firm, and oh so smooth. Inspired by ancient Chinese traditions and backed by modern nutritional science, this serum cream is perfect for dry, mature, and aging skin. It's time to unlock your inner glow with Coolness. Treat your skin to the best of both worlds today.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. I am Candace McKim, and I am hosting today the Chronic Health Collective. I'm a manifestation magic coach, mentor, and I'm interviewing the co-founder of the Chronic Health Collective and the Chronically Healthy Life, Andy Nam. And before we went to break, we were talking about sleep and the importance of I always feel like Well, because my background is yoga, we have
Mhm.
yoga nidra, which is translated as yogic sleep. And so they say doing 20 minutes of a yoga nidra is the equivalent of hours of a good long sleep.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's called yoga nidra. And but also that my background is I started meditating at 12 years old, and it's just an everyday or twice a day practice for me. And I think that might be where it supplements my sleep. And
Mhm.
yeah, so let's just finish talking about this topic about the importance of sleep.
Yeah, and of course, we talk about cutting the screens. I always tell people try to stop eating at least 3 hours before you go to sleep,
Okay.
right? Because when you're sleeping, your body is meant to repair your body, right? Like when you're sleeping, it's supposed to repair. But if you're eating all the way before you sleep, now your body's just trying to digest. Like all the blood flow is going to your stomach rather than repairing your brain, right? So I find a lot of people, if they do late eating and then sleep after, they're a lot more tired because your body doesn't have the ability to repair. So all it's doing is digesting food throughout the night. And those people get a lot more brain fog, even when they're getting that 7, 8, 10 hours of sleep, because our body's not repairing the brain, which it should be doing.
Right.
And the other thing that I like to talk about is your sleep really starts with your morning routine. Like a lot of people don't think about that, right?
Okay.
So for me, it's like every morning, I was like, even if it's raining, cold, whatever, I say, I go outside. Like luckily we water our garden, but just go outside and just getting the sunlight, even if it's not like direct sunlight, it tells your body you're awake, and then it sets up the circadian rhythm. So it almost resets the clock as the countdown when your body needs to go to sleep. But a lot of people, they just stay inside their house of all the artificial light and everything. Your body doesn't know how to reset. It's like literally at 24 hours, it doesn't know when is morning, when is night. So your body doesn't know when it needs to start going to sleep. So first thing in the morning, get out there. It's good for vitamin D, of course, but it really just resets your clock. It's almost like, okay, reset, 12 hours from now, your body's ready to go to sleep.
I love that. I love that. That makes so much sense to me. And my mantra is body before business. So I
Mm,
get up and I walk and I do yoga or I get outside and walk as, most mornings before I start work. But yeah, that's my mantra is body before business. So, and I agree,
I
my morning
agree,
practice is really sacred. Like I get up and I meditate first thing,
mhm.
then I do affirmations while I'm washing my face, and then, yeah, do some sort of movement before I start anything.
I love that. That's very similar to what me, Mina do. We'll do something biohack. I'll be on my compression pants, on my red light therapy. I'll have my Calm app running the latest meditation,
Yeah.
and we'll do that for 10, 20 minutes, right? It really just sets you up for the day because now your body's recharged and you're not thinking about something else, right? Your body's calm to start and excited to start the day, as
Yeah.
opposed to some people, as soon as you get up, the worst thing to do is check your email or,
Yeah.
or, or check social media, right? It just puts your mind into a different space. And if it's something happy, great. It might put you in a happy space. But
Yeah.
I tell you, happy things don't, is not good news. Like people don't spread happy things. They always spread negative news.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, whatever you read is going to say, "Oh, I feel so sad about that," or you
Yeah.
get pissed off about it, right? And then it sets your day for the rest of the day too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. All right. So someone's listening right now and they're feeling stuck and or maybe waiting for a big breakthrough in their health. What advice would you give them about creating milestones that actually move their life forward? I love this question because it's like, how do I move forward, right? With
Correct.
like sometimes it feels like it takes so long and you feel like you're doing it wrong, or I don't know, it just doesn't feel like it's happening fast enough.
I think, like I said in the beginning, we all are so used to the silver bullet. There's no silver bullet, and this applies in all areas of life, right?
Yeah.
Not the health, finances, everything, right? Um, I think we have to start creating sort of like micro breakthroughs, like micro challenges that you could
Okay.
do, right? And as I think so many people they underestimate the power of these small wins that you do, right? But
Mhm.
you know, I think it really comes down to momentum. Like one of the things I always tell people, and I really like this analogy. One of my mentors taught me this 15 years ago. It's like if you have a well, like most people get the water, you know, you turn on water and you get water. But some
Yeah.
people that's living out in the country or have their own land, you need to pump water from the well to get out, right? And nowadays you got electric pumps, so you have water pressure all the time. But back in the day, you got this little pump on the side of the well, and you need to pump. And literally, you have to like pump a freakishly long time to build the pressure, and then it becomes easier for the water to come out,
Yeah.
right? And the way I look at it, that's sort of similar to all these micro challenges that you need to do. Is like you have to consistently do the little things for the little wins, but once it becomes smooth, water just starts flowing, right? And it's like that's where your big win will come so much easier if you break it down into all these small little micro movements towards it, right? So you know,
Yeah.
don't always look for the big swing. It happens in movies, and once in a while it happens, but most of the time you need to work for them. You can't just manifest it. I wish that was the case,
Yeah.
right? You know, I have so many friends. I'm manifesting, $1 million coming to me. I said, well, what are you doing about that? Well, I'm thinking about it every day. I said, but what are you doing about it towards it? It's like saying you have to take action, right? You know, you have to take
Absolutely.
action before you can hit, those big milestones.
Yeah, action is the number one way to get the manifestations to start to happen, right? Is you can dream it, you can visualize it, you can do gratitude, you can, do your vision board and, do all the affirmations, but taking the steps is really what the momentum is, starting the momentum. And I think that's the same with celebrating the milestones along the way. To get to the bigger milestones, it's like, okay, I walked 4 kilometers every day this week, or I walked, and I don't do time. Like when I was increasing my conditioning last year, I didn't do time because I can walk, I can dawdle.
That's
And
true. Yes.
So I did more distance. I'm like, okay, I'm
Yes.
going to do this much distance it doesn't matter how long it takes me, but I'm going to do 4 kilometers or 8 kilometers or whatever it was. And I'm going to do it this number of days. So it was more those kind of milestones that I was celebrating rather than seeing the big results, because there aren't really any big results other than I feel more confident to go hiking, and I can hike up a mountain and my heart rate isn't going up and I'm not out of breath. And, those types of things. Those are the milestones that I am celebrating, but it's like, yeah. So it's almost like, okay, I did it every day, or I did it 5 days a week, or whatever the milestone is. Like the smaller ones is what's gotten me there in the year.
Exactly. For me, like lately, I'm always looking at things. What are measurements for longevity? And recently, I'm studying another mentor now on more stretching and for balance and everything. Because if you think about most older people, is you fall, you break some things because you lost the balance, you lost the strength, you lost your core strength. You don't have that flexibility, and it's sort of funny, like some things that they share. Well, everyone should be able to squat for a long time naturally. And I'm challenging people to do it for a minute. And it's really hard because we don't do it anymore, right?
That's one of the things I started doing is I squat. I do 10 squats every morning after I brush my teeth and every evening after I brush my teeth. So I do 10 squats, and then I do an 11th squat and hold it for the count of 10.
I love it.
After a month, I can't even believe what a difference. Like even I went walking with a friend yesterday, and she goes, "Your legs look so strong." And I'm like, "It's my squats."
It is, right? And these are natural movements that people should be doing anyway. So they put too much work into like going to the gym and stuff like that. It's so simple. It's like you said, 10 squats. And for me, I'm talking about a deep squat. I'm literally saying squatting, like almost sitting onto the floor, because we should have the ability to squat all the way down and stand back up. Like you see people, in the blue zones, or they're squatting down, they're smoking, it's like, but when I tell people, can you get down? They can get down, but they can't get up, right? I was like, this is a natural movement that your body should be able to do. So that's something that I'm incorporating right now to challenge myself. Well, how long can I squat for? And it's like, I thought I was fit. It was, wow, this is like big challenges for me too,
Yeah. All right. So, Andy, looking ahead, what's the next big milestone that you feel or would like to manifest for the Chronic Health Collective?
That is such an amazing question, Candace. In these last 4 years, my vision of health is so different. Because back in the day, I thought that I can do it all myself because that's the way I'm brought up, right? My dad will say, don't depend on anyone else. You can only depend on yourself if you want results. And that's the way I was brought up. And that's the way I always done things. Right. But over these last 4 years is like when we started the Chronically Healthy Life show and we're interviewing other guests and I want to learn from them. I want them to share their experiences with others so we can uplift them. But when it comes to the Chronic Health Collective, this is really my way of uplifting how we can help people in the world, right? Because I understand like I can learn from all these coaches, but I will never be as good in all these different areas. That's just not possible. Like,
No,
maybe if you're Tony Robbins, you may be really good, but even then, I doubt Tony Robbins will admit he's good in all areas of health.
no.
Right.
No.
And so when it comes to the Chronic Health Collective, is like I'm really narrowing down, getting to know all my friends like you, Candace. Of course, we're always learning from you and implement. You taught me some things today that I'm going to implement, like the impossible list.
Yeah, and vice versa. Yeah.
And this is really my vision for us is not only are we going to have live shows, we have our magazine, we're having a first yearly summit, virtual summit. My vision is really where we take it on to live on stage, like Tony Robbins events. Like that's my vision.
I love it. Okay. Let's put that out there.
Yeah, like I want that out there, not just for Houston, but I want to hit Houston, Florida, Canada, Vancouver, Europe, right? And it hits multiple things because me and Minna, we love traveling. But imagine traveling with people that you know and trust and connect with, like with a common vision. It makes things so much more exciting. But my vision is how many people are we going to touch? How many lives are we going to touch? Right. Yeah. And I realize I can't do it myself anymore. But with the collective, it's like, this is easy. This is easy. Everyone's going to be able to connect with 10 people, 20 people. We got 12 of us, 14 of us technically. Right. Yeah. So it's like, my vision is, everyone's going to know who we are. Right. And what our vision is. Like, we want to help people. It's not about making money. Making money is great. Don't get me wrong. Making money is great. We all need money. But, the people I lined up with the Chronic Health Collective is like, that's not really the vision. Our vision is really getting our messages out there, helping as many people as we can to meet them where they're struggling. Right. Because everyone's struggling is in a different space. Right. And you need something else to handle that struggle. Right. So, I in my mind, I want the Chronic Health Collective to be a household name. That is my vision for the next, in the next year, coming up, for 2026. Yeah. I want the Chronic Health Collective. Oh, I heard of them. They have these people, blah, 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 and start naming us off. Like that's where I want us to be.
Yeah. And I find it so fascinating how you intuitively brought the group together and how well we've really meshed together as a group. Like it's pretty phenomenal. And that was your intuition, right? Yours and Minna's intuition that said, okay, let's invite this person. Let's invite that person. And so before we have to close up, but tell everybody how they can contact you and find out more about how to work with you personally.
Yeah, the best way is, through our website, chronicallyhealthylife.com. You can reach me at Andy at chronicallyhealthylife.com, obviously. YouTube.com is where I have all my, our TV shows for Chronically Healthy Life. My QR code goes to my Calendly or Longevity of Andy. And, just set up a call. I think, I love talking to people and just a first discovery call to see if we're a good fit to work with people. And to be honest, like I said, I set up this Chronic Health Collective. If we're not a good fit, I know someone that's going to be a good fit for them. So, let's set up that first call. I think that is just so important because we all need to take that first step. Like you said, we need to take action. You can't just hope it to happen. You can't just manifest, I'm going to do this. I all these big dreams. Take that first step and take that first micro step and see where it leads you.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you to say last words of wisdom, and that's what it is. Take the first step, right?
Exactly. I think that is just so important.
Yeah. And then everybody can find you on all of the social medias. I know that because
Yes.
we're all on there on LinkedIn and Instagram and on Facebook. Well, this was really such a gift for me to interview you, Andy. Thank you so, so much. So if today's episode spoke to you, don't go it alone. Take that first step, like Andy was just talking, and book your free consult with one of our expert coaches at the chronichealthcollective.com. Let me say that again, chronichealthcollective.com. For personalized support, and subscribe to our monthly magazine for experts tips from all 14 coaches to elevate your health, mindset, and relationships. Catch us live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. CST, or watch past episodes anytime on E360 TV or youtube.com at Chronic Health Collective. Thank you so much for tuning in. Your transformation starts now, and we will see you next week.
We'll see everyone next week. Thank you.